Hey guys, Naja here. Welcome back to my channel. So again, welcome to those who are new. Welcome, and welcome back to those who have been continuously coming and supporting and commenting. I am very much grateful for you. Thank you so much. In today's scripture breakdown, what we're going to be talking about is Isaiah 4. Isaiah 4. Now, when I read this, I was like, wait a minute, Lord. This is something that is happening right now. This is the time period that we're in reference to women and how women feel about marriage and how they feel about their role in marriage. And it's too many of us who have this mindset, okay? And we have to get out of it. Now, I can understand why some of us may have this mindset. I'm going to read it. I know you guys are like, what mindset are you talking about? Okay, so let me just dive into the scripture first, okay? So the scripture is talking about Isaiah 4, verse 1, and it reads, "In that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, 'Let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids.'" Now, what does that sound like to you? What does it sound like to you? Now, the breakdown that came down from my Bible, it says, the women were so desperate for husbands that they are willing to support themselves rather than looking to their husbands for support. Moral decay, because that's exactly what it is, moral decay that is taking place. And it reaches the women of society. Well, let me start back. It says moral decay that reaches the women of society can gain a strong foothold in the home, where the most formative influence on the younger generation is found. Okay? So when moral corruption reaches the home, the nation is headed for disaster. That's where we begin to start seeing such a huge, breakdown of destruction in the family, in the way that the Lord designed for family to be constructed. Okay? Right now we have more women in society who, because they feel like they've reached a certain, goal in their life financially, as well as maybe going back to school, and they've reached these milestones that they personally had for their own lives, that now it's like, okay, I don't need a husband in order to support me, to take care of me. I just need a husband just so that I look like I'm all put together. So as it says in scripture, I won't look like an old maid and be mocked for being old and alone. Okay? So they are literally willing, as it said, desperate for husbands, that they will be willing to support themselves. So women are willing to support themselves financially and emotionally. Because in this time, in reference to this scripture, it did not matter whether or not the husband had 7 or 8 wives. They were willing to just become one of those wives just so they could say they had a husband, just so they would not be in a position after this. I think it was a war that took place where they lost a lot of the men in their land. So they were willing to just all, bum rush the little bit of men that was left, and willing to just be married to them, even if it meant they would not gain any support emotionally or financially. They just wanted the last name. They just wanted the title of being a wife. And so very similar to today's time, where we have women who are so caught up on their status that many of them don't really marry for the true biblical reasons of marrying. They don't marry knowing that, hey, God has a plan and a will for my life and my husband's life, and a plan and will and purpose for us coming together. It's not just because I don't want to be alone. It's not just because I'm getting old and I'm afraid of being mocked. And believe it or not, many of these women who are doing this are Christian women. They just want the idea of saying, I'm married, I's married now, okay? And have a ring to show to people. Now, me personally, I have been married before, and I know that the Lord has said that He's going to grant me another marriage, because divorce is no different than any other sin that you may have committed. It is forgiven, because many of us were getting married before we actually even had lives that were surrendered to the Lord, where we understood our walk with God, or we may have been an unbeliever when we first did that, when we first made a covenant. So I know that God is a restorer, and especially those who are called for purpose, that God knows that that purpose needs to be met with a spouse for many of us in order to truly see the outcome of that purpose reach the full potential it needs to reach. Okay? And I don't even know where I was going with all of that, but what I will say is that, okay, this is what I was going to say. The only reason that I waited so long is because I'm not willing to compromise. I've had many opportunities with guys who have wanted to date me, wanted to date for the purpose of marrying me. But I knew that God was not putting me with those people, because He could see ahead of me, and He knows that His purpose and will for me was not going to be, seen through with that particular person. And who knows, it could be because you get married to that person and they switch it up, they change, and before you know it, they're now a hindrance and a distraction from you doing God's work. And a lot of things you can't see that are going to happen years from now. It might be 5-10 years from now that those things might not show up, right? But the point is, marriage is supposed to be for life. And I know that I am not going to be careless about making that decision again, because the next go round, it's going to be for life. Okay, there is no do-overs a third and fourth time. It's just not, because there comes a time where you must use the wisdom of God, okay, and not make careless decisions when it comes to creating covenants. It's unnecessary if we just do it God's way. I've done it my way one too many times. Now it's time to do it God's way. Quickly, I'm going to go over to the commentary for this particular scripture. And the commentary is in Bible Hub. If you don't already have it, download Bible Hub. Click on the commentary, put in the scripture that you're looking for, and there's multiple different breakdowns from different scholars. Okay, this particular commentary that I'm going to read is from Barnes' Notes on the Bible, okay? And it reads, "It means that so great should be the calamity, so many men would fall in battle, that many women would, contrary to their natural modesty, become suitors to a single man, to obtain him as a husband and protector." Okay, so a lot of men who died in battle, it made them run to whatever single man that was available for the sake of being a protector and having someone to call their husband. It says, "We will eat our own bread. We do not ask this in order to be maintained. We will forego that which the law," Exodus 21:10, "enjoins as the duty of the husband in case he has more than one wife." So they were basically approaching these men, okay, wanting to let them know, like, hey, I want to be your wife. And it doesn't matter if you have more than one wife. I'm not asking you for bread. I'm not asking you to feed me. And this is in case he had more than one mouth to feed. Like, hey, I'm not going to be a burden here. I just want you to be my husband. I'm not going to be a burden. And so, man, there are women today who still have this mindset. When they get married, they become yes women. They compromise. Even though they know that this particular man is probably not good for them. They see the red flags from the beginning. But their fleshly desires of wanting a husband, wanting to be desired, wanting to seem as if they're sought after, makes them compromise and say, hey, I'm not going to be any trouble for you. I don't care what else you have going on. I don't care about the red flags that I might see. I don't care about what God has shown me to tell me that you're not supposed to be my husband. But I am going to go with it if you will ask me for my hand in marriage. I know you guys have known or seen some people that do this, okay? Again, it says they were desperate. They were desperate. It says, only let us be called by your name. Let us be regarded as thy wives. Indulge me only with the empty title of wife. Let there only be inscribed on my tomb, Marcia, wife of Cato, to take away my reproach, the reproach of being unmarried. Okay? So again, it is crazy how even in this time, you're looked at, or that expectation is still just it's just as prevalent today. It is just as prevalent today, where you seem to have this different status of being important, or it needing to be a status that you obtain to be a wife. Okay? Don't really see that stigma with men, but it's the women who want to be wives so badly, where it literally says, indulge me only with the empty title of wife. Empty title, which means a lot, means that there is nothing attached to that title in reference to her, who she's supposed to be as wife. It's just a title. Doesn't mean she has to act and become that wife. It's just a title. All she cared about was the title. As it says, let there only be inscribed on my tomb, Marcia, wife of Cato. All she wanted was to be called a wife. All they, not she, but there's many of them. Okay? So the purpose of this message is for each of you to take into account of whether or not you are allowing yourself to be put in a position where you care more about the title, and you're causing yourself to compromise in areas in relation to what you deserve, which is receiving the husband's support, which is connecting with someone who is there for the purpose and will of God. Don't allow yourself to put yourself in positions where at the end of the day, all you care about is being that man's titled wife, where you say, hey, I won't be any problems if you will just make me your wife. At that point, you just become a trophy. No purpose, no God's will connected whatsoever. Let's do a self-evaluation and determine, are we putting ourselves in that position? Or are we truly, truly waiting on God and His will? Even if it means waiting for however long it needs to be, okay? I have been I have been married before, yes, but I have been single, unmarried, okay, for 10 years, long time. But I know that the Lord had a lot of things that I needed to go through in order to put me in a certain position to be ready for my husband, which meant to be first married to the Lord and submitted to him. Okay? Total submission to him. You become a wife before you become a wife when you are married to the Lord. And I know the same will go for the husband, where there are certain processes, certain life lessons, certain areas of pruning where God had to bring that man to where he needed to bring him to his knees to learn how to submit to God. Okay? Because we are all his bride. So that when we come together, we both understand what submission looks like, what submission means. Submission means that you are a servant. So you come into that marriage serving one another, not looking at it as in what this person is going to do for me. Instead, your mindset is how you are supposed to serve this person. And if you both are paying attention to what that looks like from your own place of, your commitment, rather than always pointing fingers about what this person isn't doing. Now, if you are doing your part and you are actually always doing a self-check, hey, am I operating correctly? Am I being a servant to my husband or wife? Am I surrendered to the Lord correctly so that I can serve my husband and wife properly? If you are and that other person isn't, then that's a different story. That's where you go in your prayer closet and you go before the Lord. Okay? But we have to start making sure that we are doing our part individually, so that when we come together, we have no problem with self-evaluation and repenting when we realize that we're lacking in certain areas. Okay? This went longer than I needed it to go. This was supposed to be a little quick word. Okay? But it is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, like this video. Let's get this algorithm back going because YouTube is tripping. Okay? Let's get this algorithm back going. Like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Don't just be watching and not subscribing to the channel. Subscribe, okay? I thank you guys so much. Visit the links that are in the description for coaching, for my book From Witchcraft to Righteousness. I have a deliverance journal. I also have YouTube links that will take you to warfare books that I recommend as well. And for the ladies, if you're like me and you love sundresses and maxi dresses, there's an Amazon link there for you as well. All right, guys, I love you. I'll see you in my next video.